Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Fandom Racers. I'm Justin. I'm joined by Amanda. I think I'm getting the orientation of this correct.
Is your screen smaller? I don't know. I've given up on direction.
Is your screen smaller than usual, or is it just me?
I'm on my phone.
So. That'll do it. Okay. Anyway, so today is a kind of a special episode. Normally we do kind of commentary on movies or TV shows. Today, we're doing social commentary.
Yeah, we're gonna do great at this and not offend anyone.
Oh, we'll see about that. We'll see what I can do about that. No, so today we're going to talk a little bit about a trend that I see happening in comic books that, you know, a few people are noticing and taking some heat for noticing it. There's some positive and negative aspects to some of this stuff, but we'll talk a little bit about that. Last week, I think it was, or very early this week, DC revealed the cover to a new YA novel, and it is called "I Am Not Starfire." I'll put up a picture in post production of post editing or whatever, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. All of this. So it's a YA novel. It's clearly meant for younger readers. It's meant for probably like a specific demographic of readers. Kind of too specific, I think, but you know, it's not made for me. So I can't criticize it too much. Mando, what did you think of the cover reveal? What do you think the story is going to be? How did you feel about this?
Okay, well, I mean, initially, when I was looking at it and reading kind of like basically what the storyline is, I didn't really know how to feel, and I still kind of don't. Mm-hmm. I just know I'm getting tired of of like, why would we have a story like this? Like, you could have that kind of relationship kind of story with your superhero mother, but why does it have to be like somebody else that we already know? Like, make a new character.
Yeah.
Write a whole new, well, not genre, but it is, I think a little bit what offends me is that the genre change in it is just so out of context, I think, from what you usually see Starfire in.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe the story, it's hard to judge because, I mean, I haven't read it.
Sure.
And nobody has, I guess. Mm-hmm. But it's just difficult to kind of mix those two things together where it's a motherly kind of situation. And they've done it before, and it's kind of cheesy and stupid. And I don't know if they expected this to go over well or not.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just tired of seeing maybe interesting plots, like storylines, kind of just pick up these characters with no good intention. I think it's just for name dropping. That's it. Like, it's to name drop. Oh, guess what? Starfire's in it. But anyone that's a fan of Starfire is probably not going to be a fan of learning that she has a goth daughter and that probably hates her. So why would you do that?
That's an excellent point. Who is this book for exactly?
It's not for fans of Starfire. That's the thing. Like, it's probably for fans of not Starfire.
It's
anyone that hates Starfire.
But then why would you buy a book that's about Starfire? It doesn't. Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive. it seems like it's made. So when I said like a very specific demographic, it's made for goth kids. It's made for gay goth kids, kind of specifically, and it's made for um, superhero fan, like goth kids that are gay and also superhero fans, but not so much of Starfire. If you're going to identify with a character who doesn't get along with Starfire, um, like you said, it's kind of hard to judge this book where it's supposed to land. Why I don't know if it's justifying its own existence in the synopsis that the writer has released of it. I want it to do well. I hope every comic book does well. A rising tide raises all ships, and that's that's the outlook you go into with like all of the comic book movies. Even the DC movies, historically have not been fantastic, but you hope they're good. Because if they're good, they make more. And if they're more good movies about stuff that I like, then I'm happier. So I'm not sadistic enough or rich enough to spend money on things that I want to see fail. I'm probably not going to buy this book because it's a YA novel. And like I said, it's not geared towards me. Totally okay with that. But what I'm kind of afraid of is that it's going to be a story that also doesn't really mean anything. Not just in terms of like canon, even though I think YA novels kind of really don't fall even in the realm of like Elseworlds or anything like that. They're more like alternate timelines. I hope it's good, but it's probably not going to be good.
Yeah, that's where I would like. I said this about Marvel, but DC, I think they need to get this handled. There needs to be some quality checks in the comic books that are put out there, because I mean I don't read a lot of DC comics, but the last two that I read were just junk.
Do you know the last two you read?
I read, it was a Batman Beyond. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
And then I had gotten, I don't remember the other one, but Batman Beyond was bad. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll try this one. Maybe it's not Batman. And it was worse.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna go ahead and make it obvious that I'm assuming of what this book is going to be about, or at least the kind of story that this book is going to tell. I think what it's going to essentially be is have a character who starts off being criticized or like oppressed for not being her mother, for not being feminine or the bubbly character that her mom is going to be. And then by the end of the story, she's going to realize that it's okay to be herself and to not be her mom. But she's not really going to change or grow as a character other than learning that one lesson, which is a good lesson. It's fine. I learned the lesson of, I'm not my parents and I'm not my siblings around, the YA age. Totally cool. I just feel like you can tell that story, but you can also make it good. You can also, it's a superhero story, make it interesting. And I'm afraid it's not going to be interesting. I'm afraid it's going to read a little flat. Yeah. And that's where,
we had watched the critique. Who was it? I don't know what channel that was. But we had watched a critique on it already. And it was kind of getting at the physique of the character isn't something that you should idolize. And I'm thinking, well, no, I guess you shouldn't idolize a chubby girl. But the thing is, you don't have to be a perfect athlete to be a hero. You can do good things and not look like you just work at Abercrombie and Fitch. So I could get if the whole point of the story was like, hey, I look like this, somebody that definitely doesn't look like a hero, but I'm going to be able to do heroic things. And that would be fine. And once it gets there, we'll get there. And maybe it's a masterpiece and we just don't know it yet. But
Probably not.
I'm with you. I'm thinking you're pretty much like right on the button. Like it's gonna be about, hey, it's okay for me to be me, and then my mom's gonna realize that too.
Yeah.
Kind of situation.
You can tell really basic stories in really epic ways, and I feel like they're going to miss out on that opportunity with this character. Another thing we kind of mentioned, and this is kind of the trend that I was mentioning, or that I was talking about earlier, and I'm sure there's like an actual word going around for this particular thing, but what I call it is piggybacking, where you take a story, or you had kind of mentioned the idea of fan fiction and trying to make it canon, and essentially trying to usurp is a strong word, but you're trying to use the legacy of a title to kind of further your own ideals by changing that character or large aspects, very important aspects of that character. For me, one of the biggest things that I saw about 3 or 4 years ago, when I first started really noticing this, was whenever they made Iceman gay. It didn't make him a better character. All it really did was it kind of messed up a lot of canon that he had already had, where he had dated a lot of girls and he had been in a lot of serious relationships. And it sort of just muddied up his history.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, if there's some sort of storyline to like explain that, because I'm sure any gay kid will tell you, like, I had to figure it out. Well,
yeah,
some of them, but yeah, I mean, it would be fine to me, like, if you had that background and then like maybe that one relationship that just sparked it all, your Brokeback Mountain episode. But I mean, that's where if they never brought it to like this is how he discovered it, then that's where I would say, yeah, that's kind of an issue. But it's not a bad thing that they turned him into a different person than what he was.
Yeah.
But it just plays like they're just saying, oh, we need a gay character, let's just make him gay. And it's offensive, I'm sure, to gay people. I don't know if you are gay and you have a different opinion. I respect that, but I mean, that's how I would think it. I mean, this chubby character, that's where I'm like, the chubby character that I'm looking at, like, okay, you have a chubby character now. Is she good? Does she have like any backstory that kind of, I don't know, forms her heroicness because she's chubby? I don't know. But that's where it's pandering a little bit. And
it seems like pandering.
And they do that a lot now.
I've read some of the stories with Iceman after he kind of came out, and they're not very good stories, and they're just stories about him not really being a hero anymore, so much as it's just about his personal life of being gay. Which, okay, sure, you had comic books of, I'm sure, back in the 80s of him like just dating around and stuff like that, but I feel like we can do better now. Why wouldn't you make it more about like an actual character development story, rather than just, they seemed a little bit like Will and Grace kind of episodes, like that kind of humor. And it's just, it's not really a comic book anymore. It's not an Iceman or X-Men comic book. It felt a little bit weird to do that one. I didn't really get that. I didn't know why you wouldn't just create a new mutant. I mean, you can literally create mutants left and right.
Well,
up and down.
I mean, it's happened. I mean, in the goddess Thor, they have a mutant in there that is gay, and he's pretty much like the embodiment of the Phoenix.
Yeah.
So like they created a new guy. It's great. He's a good character. I like him. But it like you have that backstory for him. So I get it where it's like if you never created that backstory and then all you see is like the Will and Grace but Iceman, it's kind of awkward and you're like, where's the stuff that I liked before?
Yeah, exactly. There are some cases of like changing, like I said, some aspects of a character, or at least the title, right, where it works totally fine. Like you and I had talked about this, the idea of Miles Morales totally works. That works great. Like a black Spider-Man. There's nothing necessarily about Peter Parker's story that has to be from a white kid's point of view or an Asian kid, Hispanic kid. His race doesn't matter so much to where he needs to be Peter Parker even. His name doesn't even need to be Peter Parker. He just needs to be an intelligent kid who lives in a very poor neighborhood, has like major tragedy in his life, but also has been gifted these abilities and learns that with great power comes great responsibility. That is the gist of that story. And that's how you get a Spider-Man. Also, your uncle has to die one way or another. Uncle Ben.
Every uncle. Well, I mean, okay, so Penny Parker, her dad dies.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with the ham guy.
Spider Ham. Yeah.
I mean, Spider Noir, I'm assuming similar kind of.
I think so. Yeah.
Uncle.
Somebody dies. I don't remember who it is.
But yeah, you always have somebody close to them that dies.
Yeah.
Gwen Stacy had Peter Parker die.
Yeah, Gwen Stacy had Peter Parker die. Even like Spider-Gwen, it seems a little lazy and on the nose, but I don't have a major problem with that particular character. It's the Spider-Verse, so kind of it's a what if kind of a thing. Anything can happen. Any character could have been Spider-Man. We're just looking at the particular set of circumstances in which Gwen Stacy becomes the Spider-Man or a Spider person. Yeah,
and like, take it from me, I really don't like the Spider-Gwen comic, or at least the one that I was reading. It was really dull and boring and kind of emo. And I was like, I can't deal with this. But I do love the idea, like the concept of, okay, we have these multiple universes. Let's say Gwen Stacy, like if she became Spider-Man. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And it's decent. And once you get the right storyline going, there's a difference between the concept and the storyline. Yeah. So, which, I mean, with all of these, you have a good concept. You have like, okay, what if this happened? Great. But if you don't have the storyline to go with it, then it's garbage. And that's, I mean, it sounds a little hypocritical because my favorite Marvel character right now is the goddess Thor. Yeah. And everybody wanted to start a whole like pitchfork meeting about this. Like, you can't make Thor a woman. But that story is pretty much out of this world. I love it. And Jason Aaron, he writes it and he does a really good job about talking about not necessarily feminine politics, but just politics in general and like how one person can make a difference. Yeah. And not necessarily somebody that has a lot of power. It's just somebody that keeps trying. Yeah, he's a really good writer. I liked Lady Thor. I wish she had gone by the name Lady Thor and not just Thor. That's the one thing I bumped into, is that she kept Thor's name and not just the title of the goddess of thunder or something like that. That's the only thing that kind of bothered me about that. Like, it would be like if you're running for president, but you say you're running for Donald Trump. Or if you're running for president, you're running for Joe Biden. Like, no, you're running for the office, the title. You're not running for the name that guy had.
So I kind of wish they had given her like another name, but just with the title, Goddess of Thunder or something like that.
Mhm.
But
That
whatever.
would have been, I think that helps. And they're kind of doing that with the Ironheart stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it's not just Iron Maiden. That would be great. Why didn't we do Iron Maiden?
I think what's her name? Pepper Potts was Iron Maiden for a little while.
Is she?
I thought
That's
she
great.
was, from what I
I love
understood. Yeah.
Hashtag Iron Maiden for president.
um, but yeah, so and then also the costume design for Lady Thor was really good. That's probably one of my favorite costume designs in like the past like 10 years or something like that. I think Assad, I'm gonna butcher his name, Assad Ribik or something like that. He's a fantastic painter, watercolorist. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did the costume design for that, and it looks beautiful. It's a really nice design. I enjoyed that idea. I enjoyed that story. To me, it didn't feel like pandering. It felt like an interesting twist on that story, on the mythology of Thor. And then you have other twists of characters like Amadeus Cho as the new Hulk, which again that happened a few years ago, but
The reason that one bothers me is because you're like, okay, he's going to be the new Hulk, but he looks exactly like Hulk. If he had like different DNA, he wouldn't look like Hulk.
Yeah.
Agents of Smash.
Yeah. That one was not written very well, from what I remember. I read like the first 3 or 4 issues, and it was called Totally Awesome Hulk, and you can tell it was kind of pandering towards like cool rad kids that are like, oh dude, totally awesome, whoa. So if you were like from like 2002 or something like that and you were like 13 at the time, Totally Awesome Hulk would have been for you. The problem is it came out in like 2017 and nobody said totally awesome anymore. Yeah, 15 years too late, but that's all right. But yeah, and then you also have other characters that felt okay to take over that mantle, like X-23 taking over for Wolverine after he died. Mm-hmm. She made a really cool Wolverine. I'll be honest with you, that was an interesting book. I think I read like the first issue of that one. I wasn't able to keep up with that. I kind of dipped out of comic books for a little while at that point because I was poor, and then I was able to get back in after it was already over. But some good art and an interesting idea of like a new Wolverine taking over. I think Marvel probably went overboard with the idea of like a different set of people being the same old titles. Sam Wilson taking over for Captain America, and then they did, Lady Thor, and then they did a new Hulk, and they did a new Wolverine, and they did a new, they kind of just shifted everything.
That's right. They didn't. It's like the jumping the shark episode right there. Like, okay, now we don't know what to do anymore, so let's just shuffle. Let's just take our Yahtzee cup and throw and see what happens.
Yeah. I think part of it was the new Coke classic Coke kind of thing where like, let's give him this one. It's not going to be that great, but whenever we bring back classic Coke, everyone's going to buy it. Oh. And I think they probably did. I know it definitely worked for Immortal Hulk. Like people just dived into that one, but I think they dived into that one because it was a really good story. It was really well written and it was very well thought out. Captain America, I don't know how well that one did. I picked up the first like 10 issues or something like that because I love the artist that was working on it. He's my favorite one. Wolverine, I didn't hear a whole lot about whenever they went back to Logan, like the other Logan, not old man, young man Logan as Wolverine. But anyway, all that to say, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the key factor here is, why are you doing it? Are you doing it just because? Are you doing it just because, that's the trend to do it at the time, or you're doing it because you have an interesting story to tell. And I feel like more often than not, what we're seeing right now is, oh, we were just doing it because we can. Why not? You know, and anyone who kind of comes against it and criticizes it also gets criticized, and they're told, you know, you're just living in the past. Let go. They're just characters in a comic book. You don't know what you're talking about. First of all, yes, I get that these are fairy tales, right? I understand that this is a modern mythology. These aren't real people, but you have to understand that these are stories that still teach really important lessons, and they still have the ability to move people. Um, I understand that if I have the ability to help someone, I have the responsibility to help someone because of Spider-Man. That's personified in his character. I understand that just because I'm told to do something does not necessarily mean it's the right thing to do, and I have to do what I know is right in spite of what the world tells me because of Captain America. That is, you know, that's personified in his character. So when you do these things, yes, also the Bible, but also comic books. um, um, it's more colorful in comic books. I enjoy the bright pictures, um, but you can still move people with these stories, and when you start doing these things of like pandering, and you just try these like what feel like just cheap tricks to make, you know, a quick buck, and it doesn't really have lasting power. um it cheapens the experience for people, and you make them less influential that way. um so that's kind of the issues that I have with it, um at least when it comes to some of these crossovers, some of these changes. Anyway, but that's how I feel. But how do you feel about this stuff, Amanda?
I'd say that, like I said before, you just have to have a right reason to do it, and you've said it too. I think the whole thing is they want to draw in people and not just like who they've been pandering to before, like
Yeah.
nerd.
Freaking nerds. Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right that and you should. You're a business. You should try to bring in a new customers, right? But the best way to bring in new customers is to offer them a good product. And I feel like just because if I'm gonna be honest with you, if I saw Captain America was like an overweight like Hispanic dude with a beard, I'm probably not gonna buy that. Would I feel represented? Sure, but I almost like to the point of like, yeah,
you wouldn't buy that. I would buy the heck out of that. I'd be like, heck yeah, I'm gonna read this because it's gonna be funny.
He's hot. No, but like, and you and I have talked about this as well, like the idea of representation, and there's nothing obviously wrong with wanting to feel represented, but there's also something to be said about not needing the character to look like you in order to feel connected to it. You know, a lot of people were connected, or they felt some kind of connection to Peter Parker. You know, you don't have to be a white kid from, you know, what is it, Queens? Or is he from Brooklyn? No, he's from Queens.
Yeah, he's from Queens because Captain America's from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, that's right. And I mean, there's again, if there's nothing necessarily about his race that needs to be, or nothing about his story that needs him to be white, then I could feel connected to him so long as I have, you know, some tragedy in my life and I feel like, well, this guy just keeps getting up in the morning. He keeps trying. Maybe I can keep trying too. And he represents me in that he is sarcastic and sometimes witty.
And I get, you know what? That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's the heart. Like, don't lose what superheroes are.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they have superpowers. It's that they have the want to do right. And I think that's probably why so many things are off feeling, because you don't have like you said, it was an episode of Will and Grace. That's not what we're here for comic books for. We're here to have somebody, maybe they represent a certain group of people, but they're always human beings and they're going to try to do right.
Yeah.
So come on, Marvel. Come on, DC. Come on, Vertigo.
Yeah. I don't think Vertigo's around anymore. I think they closed. Or like
really
dissolved. Yeah. Because Vertigo was always a part of DC. And then I think DC was like, no, we're not going to do Vertigo anymore. I don't remember what the last of their books were for Vertigo. I want to say it was like Why the Last Man was their last like huge success. And then after that, they were like, we don't need successes anymore. And we started doing Plastic Man. So I don't know. Anyway, that's, I guess, the main bullet point of this is that if you have a good story to tell, you can tell it any way you need to. But when you start bending the rules of stuff and you start just playing with characters and just messing up their lives for no real reason other than you're experiencing some kind of like panic burst of like survival, like, well, my comic book is failing or my business is failing, I need to try to appeal to a bunch of new people or new customers, let's just change a bunch of stuff, you're going to upset and lose the customers that you have.
And I don't think anyone should be afraid of, if they're going to tell those stories, new characters.
Yeah.
Why do we love The Boys so much? Why do we love Umbrella Academy so much? They're new characters. It's not like, oh, Captain America's gonna meet with the Umbrella Academy. That would be so weird.
Yeah.
I mean, just it's a good storyline, and it is able to get its point across without having to borrow previous characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, I think we had talked about this before, and you had said that it works really well just because of the stand-ins that it has for like Captain America or Batman or, whoever in these stories, like The Watchmen. The Watchmen wanted to tell a story about, the Justice League essentially, and what would happen if, this or that happened, if Batman decided to kind of be a villain a little bit. Because I think that he's kind of the Ozymandias, right? That's kind of the idea. Well, I know that it's Rorschach and Ozymandias.
That's a harder one to figure out, because I would say almost every character in there is a little like Batman. So.
Yeah, I guess so. Rorschach is like the detective aspect of Batman, and then Ozymandias is just like the super genius of Batman. And then Night Owl is just the costume of Batman.
Yeah. I mean, the only person that's Superman is probably Captain Man. Or not Captain. Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah. But yeah, and then you got like a really good story out of that. And it didn't have to have, Superman going crazy and another story about Superman going crazy and killing a bunch of people or something like that, or being feared for being godlike. You didn't have to kill, the Flash, essentially, like the jokester of the team that becomes a cynical old man or something like that. You just got to tell a brand new story without having any of the weight or the baggage of the legacy of those names. So long as you're a good enough writer to convey personality and backstory in a few lines, that's all you really need, and you can tell great stories that way.
Definitely. I agree with all of that sentiment.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go back to, you had said something about like, I don't have to look like a character to connect with that character. Let me just tell you, it's a little different, but as a kid, my favorite princess was Jasmine.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why it was Jasmine was because she was always locked up in her little palace, and she wouldn't be able to go outside and stuff. And I was very sheltered as a kid, so like it had nothing to do with like she looks just like. If I was gonna pick that, it was probably gonna be Belle. And I didn't read books that much, so it definitely wasn't gonna be Belle.
Comic books. Yeah.
Well, I didn't even read comic books as a kid.
Yeah.
Harry Potter was my first book,
Really?
like novel.
Yeah.
So, and I had a Scooby-Doo comic book. That was my first one.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, and like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with necessarily with wanting to feel represented in a story, but like I said, I don't want to blanket term it to where I feel like I'm talking down to people for wanting that, but I don't think it's always necessary. Like I said, there's something to be said about just being able to connect with a character if it's written well. If the character is written well enough, you can identify with anyone's struggles, with anyone's triumphs, because you've also experienced those things. You can relate to that person's spirit more than their skin color, more than their features.
Well, I mean, I think even as an adult, I get like that sentimental thing when I see like a woman that is now a superhero or something in a movie that I'm like, oh, hey, we have this character now. So I do feel that little sentiment. It was the one scene where SpiderMan was like, he fell and all the girls come to protect him. I know everybody hated that, but I actually really enjoyed that. Because that was like, it was just a nod to say, look how far we've come. And I'm not trying to be preachy, but some people think that is a good thing, and some people think that's a bad thing. I, for one, think it was entertaining. So I'm not gonna say like more things should be like that, but I definitely enjoyed it, and I hope they like recognize that it hit some people. So
All right, yeah,
I see you judging me.
I'm not judging you. Again, that's totally fine. You feel however you want to feel about things. That's okay. The only negative thing I had to say about that particular scene is that it felt a little forced, like it kind of came out of nowhere. Like, well, it's kind of coincidental that all of the girls happened to be right there. Like all of the famous superheroes were all in that one particular part of an enormous battlefield. And there wasn't one guy that was also there. Okay.
I know. It's cheesy, but I liked it. And that's right. And you know what else is cheesy?
Yeah.
When Thor was like, nice beard, and he's like, yeah, I got it from you or whatever. Like that's cheesy. You're in the middle of battle. Why are you gonna say this? It's just extra time. And what was that battle anyways? It was just to get everybody back together and show that they're cooperating. And it's fine.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it all because that was the best movie. It's only the best movie if you watch all of them. That's the point.
Yeah. That is kind of the catch there. It really only makes sense if you see at least 12 other movies. It's a little difficult, but it's worth it. I think it's one of the best payoff movies I think you'll ever see. I mean, I think it's probably the biggest payoff movie that exists, to be honest. I mean, there's no other way to get around that. Even Harry Potter stopped at 8. And I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that journey. Anyway, I guess we can end it there. I think we dived deep enough into this this issue. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Click the bell for notifications. Read some comic books or something.
Yeah, your homework is to read comic books and prove us wrong.
Yeah.
Tell us a good comic book series that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
And maybe Justin will read it.
Maybe he will. Probably. I need stuff to read. I think it's what I'm going to do for like the new year. I'm going to start reading more comics and stuff.
I still have to read like Squirrel Girl and what is it? It's not Captain Marvel. The stretchy girl. What's the stretchy girl's name?
Miss Marvel?
Miss Marvel? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah gave me that for like my birthday and I still haven't 2 years ago and I still haven't read it. So.
Is it? Where was I? Oh yeah. In the comments, leave us a recommendation for something, or tell us what some of your favorite switcheroos that they've pulled. Like, let's change something up about this character, and you think it worked really well. I'm curious to hear stuff about that. So, but anyway, until next time, I'll see you guys later. Have a great night. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Wonderful.
It's wunderbar.
It's wunderbar. Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?
Anyway, yeah.
Anyway, Justin doesn't watch SpongeBob either. So Harry Potter and SpongeBob fans, you should just leave.
I don't think I ever will see SpongeBob. I think I'm okay with that though. I've seen enough.
At least the first 2 seasons.
I've seen enough memes. I think I've seen enough SpongeBob. He lives in a pineapple under the sea, right?
Yeah, SpongeBob SquarePants.
That's the gist of the story. That's all I need.
You guys, comment below. Tell Justin he needs to watch SpongeBob. At least the 2 seasons. Season 1, season 2.
He doesn't need to. He's fine.